Hello everyone, Ember here, and welcome back to a new video. In this one, I like to take a look at the very best cards for GLC from the set Mega Evolution. So as for some new updates, I'll be ranking each type and the new trainers. The ranking is of course a personal opinion, however, and really the main point of the video is just to showcase the best new cards for each type for GLC, at least in my opinion. So yeah, we can kick things off with dragon types and lightning types. Yeah, dragon types are notably very absent from this set. There's like one dragon type, and it just was not worth including. So I did include Raikou for lightning types. I don't think this is the best Raikou in GLC by a long shot. But I think if you're just like starting off into GLC with lightning types, then I think you could do way worse for a Pokemon. So Electric Fall for 2 lightning energy, you do 120 damage if you have at least 4 lightning energy in play. It's a very easy requirement to fill with that deck. So I think overall, just while you're getting like more Pokemon for your deck and more, good lightning type attackers, I do think this Raikou is kind of worth it for a new player. So yeah, now something nice, at the very least for lightning types. But yeah, then 10th place, I do have metal types, and this new Tinkerton I don't think is horrendous. Although, of course, it will struggle against decks that like to stack a load of energy on their Pokemon, like Guzzlord, Wailord, those sorts of attackers. But against like fragile builds and, maybe some grass decks, I do quite like Large Swing. You also be able to hit weakness on fairy types, if anyone cares about that. But, Large Swing, still a lot of damage, worth considering. Also got this Dialga, which, again, I don't think is the best Dialga in GLC by a long shot. The one from Celebrations is miles better. But this one's like not terrible. Again, if you're just starting out, you want more attackers for your deck. 80 damage, and you may shuffle energy from this Pokemon back into your deck, and it does 80 more. So you can do 160 right for 3, which I don't think is terrible if you're playing like a Matang engine or something. So yeah, not a bad option if you're just starting out. Then in ninth place, I've got Psychic types. So Psychic types usually perform very well in these videos, so to have them so low on the list is quite a surprise, really. But Alakazam and Grumpig are like the new Pokemon to take a look at here. I don't think Alakazam is anything too crazy, but quite a nice, decent stage 2 attacker, and I just thought it was better than Tinkerton overall, so that's kind of like why Psychic types got ninth place. But yeah, I think Grumpig might just be the better card, but again, to be honest, even having said that, I think Xatu and Gardevoir between them are like just much better Psychic type draw engines overall. So like Grumpig's not really doing anything for Psychic types. But if you're struggling to get more, Psychic type Pokemon in your deck, you're a new player basically, then this set is good for you, right? There's a lot of decent options. They're not great options, but they're still very solid, decent options if you're just starting out in GLC. So I like Grumpig, I like Alakazam for that. So, they're cool options, but again, there is better ones out there. Next up is we have Colorless types, and we finally got a playable Gumshoes in GLC, which is really cool. It has the ability Gather Evidence. Once in your turn, you may use this ability and switch a card from your hand with the top card of your deck. Off the top of my head, I don't know of any like crazy combos with this. But for instance, if you want to play Aranguru that has Primate Wisdom, which is this exact same ability, then like you could also then play like a different Aranguru now, because there's some really good Arangurus in GLC. The one with Instruct from Sun and Moon comes to mind. So that now like not fleas, frees up a deck slot, so you could play this Gumshoes with like a different Aranguru basically. It's a fun little detail, so that's nice. Also got this Fearow, which I don't think is particularly great, but I thought was worth mentioning just because there's a Spearow that can actually evolve on the first turn going second from the set 151. So it is actually possible to maybe do 150 damage with a bit of luck going second, which is quite funny. So like maybe, you can also find it with Rotom actually. It has 100 HP. So some fun little combos you can do with this Sphero. Is it a broken card? Absolutely not. Is it fun? Absolutely. So yeah, I did think it was worth mentioning for that alone. Next up, those we have water types. Quite some interesting options here, actually. I think Kyogre is probably the most useful, potentially. 20 damage for each water energy card in your discard pile and shove them back in. I have seen some people online talk about past, like, things like that weird, what's it called? Dondozo, as well as, like, some other water type attackers. There might have also been a different Kyogre, unfortunately, that was using a similar attack. But a lot of these, like, oh yeah, Wishy-Washy, that was one of them. All of these like big water type Pokemon, well, Wishy-Washy is not very big, is it? But like some big water type Pokemon that take a lot of energy, they also do a lot of damage, but often have to discard it, or when they get knocked out, they lose the energy. So having something like Riptide in your deck could be quite nice, I think. Also, Klotz is kind of cool, like when it moves from the active spot to the bench, you get to search your deck for, oh, no, sorry, you attach 2 energy from your hand to this Pokemon, which is kind of cool. So This in like a Frostmoth box or a Baxcalibur box already could be quite solid. Like Aqua Launcher doing 210 for 3 water energy. You do have to discard all energy, but like, I mean, it's 210 damage. It's very respectable. So it's nice to see a very playable Cloudster in GLC, to be honest. That's nice. I haven't talked about Inteleon yet, but I don't think Inteleon's particularly impressive. Not when we have like the Sword and Shield Shady Dealings Inteleon. That's a very good card. So I don't think it's going to be replaced by this one anytime soon. But overall, I think this one's interesting. Like, Bring Down's kind of cool. We've seen it before on Greninja in the past, but yeah, it's a fun option. Again, if you want to play Inteleon, you don't have like the other Shady Dealings one yet. You just want to play Inteleon in your deck. It's like a fun option at least. Next up, those we have Dark types. We've got a new Yveltal and a new Spiritomb. I think Spiritomb's the more interesting one just because we've already seen Yveltal with Clutch and Free Retreat in GLC before. But again, if you're struggling to find that particular Yveltal and you're new to GLC again, then this is a good set for new players really. But yeah, this Yveltal is quite nice, worth picking up if you're just new to GLC. But yeah, this Spiritomb is a bit interesting. Has the ability Resentful Maelstrom. Whenever your active Dark Pokemon is damaged by an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, put a damage counter on the attacking Pokemon. So it's a free 10 damage. It's basically Zigzagoon Ping, except it's just whenever your active Pokemon gets attacked. I can't really, off the top of my head, think of too many uses for this, like the Obstagoon that does more damage if your opponent's active already has damage counters on it is a solid partner, I guess. But like overall, I can't really think of any direct combos that need a damage counter to trigger, basically. But I still think it's a very cool ability to have, especially when you have I was going to say Monkey Dory there, but no, Monkey Dory's a Psychic type Ember. Yeah, because Monkey Dory needs a Dark Energy, but it's a Psychic type. Yeah, it's a bit of a shame. But yeah, there's probably some like fun combos with like Venture Bomb and stuff. Like you can do some cheesy KOs with a Spiritomb, so I quite like it overall. Next up, those we have Grass types, some really cool ones actually. Meganium again is a reprint of Venusaur, and just like Yveltal, I'm just gonna say that Meganium does have like a spiritual. What's the opposite to successor? Because like Meganium's the successor to Venusaur, so like there was a Venusaur basically with this ability in GLC already. But if you're struggling to get a hold of that Venusaur and you want to use that ability, then this Meganium is perfect for it, basically. It's also like the most playable Meganium we have in GLC, so that's cool at the very least to now have a playable Meganium. It also has decent synergy with a bunch of other Pokemon in the set, like this Tangrowth and Exeggutor. So, if once again you're new to GLC, you're playing grass types, then, I would definitely recommend picking up these evolution lines if you're starting out. Like Bulky Whip does 120 for 4 energy, but if this Pokemon has at least 2 extra energy, so you'd only need 3 if you're playing Meganium, then you get to do 260, which is very respectable. And then Exeggutor just has a very similar attack in the form of Wood Stomp. So yeah, very fun options overall, very easy to play. There's even like a Virizion from a set Black Bone White Flare you could splash in here. Like, yeah, some very solid options, I would say, for grass types. Next up, those we have fire types, which just narrowly beat out grass types because I think there's a bit more choice here. Things like Pyro, maybe not so much unless you're playing like a burn deck, but things like Senti Scorch I think are quite cool for some energy disruption. Ninetales might have some control applications with suspicious shapeshifting, and I do really like Cinderace. Fire types finally have their own version of like Talonflame and Luxray, which is cool. Like that ability Explosionist, just meaning it can be in your active spot in the first turn, which is really nice. And then Flare Turbo ramping 3 energy out the deck. That's almost as powerful as Joltik, but this guy has a lot more HP, also does 50 damage. So you might even be able to get a KO in the earlier turns with this guy. So yeah, I really like Cinderace. Of course, it's a one-off. You might not start with it in many games, but I think overall it might just be worth it in GLC. Like, it's a 60-card format anyway. You only play 1 copy of every Pokemon. Like, you may as well run a Cinderace. It's a bit of fun, right? So I like Cinderace. I think it's cool. Like, I can see the argument to not run it, but I think the pros outweigh the cons sometimes, and Cinderace is definitely one of them. So yeah, I think it's pretty cool overall. Then in third place, we have fighting types. Finally, fighting are really solid in GLC. This Lunatone, I think, is a huge game changer for them. Once during your turn, if you have a Solrock in play, you may discard a basic fighting energy from your hand and draw 3 cards. Finally got some good energy acceleration for fighting types. So all we need now really is some energy acceleration, because we have the draw power, but we don't have the acceleration. I guess you could use like Gargankel that accelerates 1 from the discard pile, and you've got some synergy there. But I think overall, fighting types still need some good energy acceleration. But yeah, Hariyama is also really cool if you're running like Hilda and Reverse Energy. This Gargankel that boosts your damage by plus 30 could be quite a nice option. Although I will say that there is a Machamp that increases your damage by plus 20. And there's also a really good Machoke that gives you bench protection. So it might just be better to run Machamp and maybe just play the Garganacl that accelerates energy instead. But, still a nice option if you're considering it. But I would definitely say Lunatone is an absolute standout here. And there's some really good Solrocks as well. So, yeah, really happy that fighting types finally got the buff they needed. But yeah, some new items and tools. We got Premium Power Pro, Fighting Gong, I think are just fantastic. Iron Defender is a bit more niche, but if you're going to stack debuffs, you may as well, stack damage reduction. There's plenty of it for metal types. Suspicious Clock is a bit more weird, but if you're playing around with bats, Alakazam, things like that, you want to exploit more when you evolve effects, then I do think Suspicious Clock could be useful for you. It's definitely a bit weirder. It's a very niche card, but like if you really want to, there's some decent applications. Like Crobat, I think is kind of cool. So Suspicious Clock, definitely want to keep an eye on for sure. But yeah, I think Fighting Gong is probably the best item here. It's just phenomenal for fighting decks. So yeah, that's really cool to see. As for some new supporters, I think Liz Determination is just bonkers. Lieutenant Surge Bargain is interesting. Like, just each player may draw a prize card if your opponent says so. If not, draw 4. Like, I think this is a really solid draw 4 effect, no matter what. But, like, it just depends how useful and, like, what certain situations, I should say, are going to crop up for it. Because it just seems like a very, very powerful effect, but only at certain points in the game, especially. But this could be used to, like, trigger effects. Like, there's plenty of Ultra Beast cards that all interact with how many prize cards are remaining and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot of really fun applications for these supporters. Very, very cool. There is also 4 new stadiums for GLC, which is lovely. I love new stadiums. Mystery Garden is just flat out a great card for Psychic decks. It's not quite as good as Dimension Valley, I don't think, but it's still just a very good card if you want some extra draw power, so that's nice. Again, if you're just starting GLC, be sure to pick one of these up. Surfing Beach, I think, is a bit more niche, but there is also like the Switch Raft, which is just a switch one of your water Pokemon, one of your bench ones, so like having Surfing Beach is still a nice stadium to have. Like, the best stadiums still probably Brooklet Hill and Lake QT, but Surfing Beach, not a bad stadium at all. Then we've got Dangerous Ruins. It's designed for dark types, really, because it affects every other type. But really, if you're just playing a spread deck of any description and you wanted the extra damage counters, then Dangerous Ruins, in the same way the Gape Troll Bog does, right, would definitely help you out. Also, you got Lush Forest. To be honest, I think Lush Forest could get banned in GLC. Like, it's a bit unfair, I think, in this format, but like, I don't want the whole video to be swallowed by Lush Forest, but I do have my reservations. Like, if you're exclusively a GLC player, I would maybe wait before getting a Lush Forest, or at least wait and see what Tricky Jim officially announces about Lush Forest before it gets released, because I don't trust them not to ban this. I'm pretty sure Forest of Giant Plants was banned the last time I checked, so yeah, I don't think Lush Forest has got an optimistic future. Like, it's not as broken as Forest of Giant Plants, but it's still a very, very powerful stadium. It's also very easy to find in GLC. So, yeah, quite a powerful card, I would say. But yeah, thanks for watching. Some overall thoughts, though. I do think this is a pretty good set for GLC. Some fun options and trainers across the board. Also, just a pretty good set if you're new to GLC as well. Lily is probably a staple, to be honest. It's like not just that crazy. It kind of replaces Cynthia. Gong is a fighting type staple, I think, which is cool. Premium Power Pro is still really good, but I think the Gong especially is a really good one. Fighting type, of course, just feels a bit more favored in this set, which is nice to see. And I could honestly just see Lush Forest getting banned. Like, it's just that powerful to me. But yeah, let me know what you think down below. Do you think Lush Forest is getting banned? Do you think fighting types are finally great now? But yeah, let me know what you think down below. And yeah, thank you for watching.